Hey, good afternoon. It's Dan, the road trip guy, and welcome to episode 2 of our podcast. Of course, it's called Dan, the road trip guy, because that's what we talk about. We talk about road trips, cars, and maybe sometimes other things. So today, special guest today, and we are on a road trip as we record this, but special guest today is my own daughter, Lauren Neal, because she has some really great stories about her own road trips, and they're very unique, and so I like that. I like to ask my guests up front, I give them 2 minutes and 45 seconds to let them tell me who they are. So we're looking for, to know in that amount of time who they are. And you might say, 2 minutes and 45 seconds, what a weird time. Well, so my favorite racetrack, probably, I have a lot of favorite racetracks, but I love the Mid-Ohio race course in Lexington, Ohio, for a variety of reasons. And I believe a recon lap around Mid-Ohio would be about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So we're basically taking a short or a quick lap around Mid-Ohio while my guests let me know who they are. So Lauren Neal, welcome to the show, first off, and tell my listeners who you are.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, we are bound on this road trip here, so it feels appropriate. It's raining also, if you can hear that noise in the background.
Yes. See how well the Rain-X is working, though?
Okay.
Not to plug the sponsor, Rain-X, but because we're ad-free.
So I am approaching my 30th birthday here relatively quickly. My name's Lauren Neal. I am a photographer. I am, I like to describe myself as a wow.
It's okay.
You need to edit that out. I like to describe myself as a self-proclaimed nomad because anytime my friends call me, their first question is typically, where are you? And sometimes I'm on the road, sometimes I'm in the airport. It just depends on the time of day. But I'm a photographer. I have spent the past 15 years traveling back and forth to Haiti. Unfortunately, travel has kind of come to a halt right now due to the political environment and just some of the instability that's going on there, but I would say that's really where I feel most at home, and where I initially picked up photography, so there's a lot of overlap there. When I'm not traveling, I'm pretty much a hermit. I like to spend time by myself with family, close friends, and I think that's kind of who I am.
We haven't finished our lap yet. Where do you live?
I'm currently based in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah.
Preparing for a new chapter, I think.
Good for you.
Yeah, my lease is up August 1st, so we're kind of in this interesting transition season, figuring out what's to come.
Yeah. You worked a job when you came back from Haiti. I mean, tell us a little bit about that while we finish our lap here.
Sure, yeah. I worked for a small startup e-commerce skincare company right when I moved back from Haiti at the beginning of 2018 and was there for about a year and a half as I built up my photography business. That wasn't necessarily my intention, but photography just became so busy that it kind of forced me into it, and I spent the end of 2019 traveling to Southeast Asia, Australia. I was in Haiti at the beginning of 2020, and then COVID kind of wreaked havoc on all of my travel plans, but ideally I'd be traveling and photographing. Traveling internationally is where I feel most alive.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you for that. We're pulling into the pit lane now, and so we can jump out and get on with our chat. So you mentioned Haiti a few times there, so I think for this episode I want to focus in on road trips in Haiti, because that's got to be kind of unique.
It sure is.
So tell us about your car in Haiti.
Oh my. That could take hours.
Well, summarize it for
Yeah,
us.
I sure will. So, the first 6 months living in Haiti, I was without a car, which was fine. But it did get to a point where I needed some form of reliable, quote-unquote, transportation, which is honestly ironic and comical looking back at how disastrous my car was. Anyway, I needed a reliable form of transportation, so I think I must have found this car there was a Facebook group for all the expats living in country, and this car had been posted in the Facebook group, and it was up in the city, so I think Mom was in town, and my friend Nate and his wife Christy went up to look at it. It was what year was it? 2004?
I think so.
No, 2002.
2002.
2002 Mitsubishi Montero, better known for whatever reason in Haiti as the DID. I don't know why.
DID.
The DID, yeah. So Mitsubishi Montero, black, tan cloth interior, right? No, leather. I honestly, it's hard for me to remember because I quickly covered the seats. So it did have an oil leak at the time of purchase, did it not?
It did.
Yeah. So that was a slight concern, but everything else looked good, and we were buying it from another expat who was leaving the country, and the memory's a bit blurry for me now, but I'm also trying to remember like how this transition of title worked. So I was pretty new to the country, and I was also very young. I never transitioned a title into my name, and so the expat, he hadn't either. So the papers were in the name of the Haitian guy who had owned the car before him. So he just was like, this guy selling me the car, he was like, well, I mean, I just kind of had a deal with this guy, so if you ever go to sell it, here's his number. And I think he honestly like wrote up a little like Word document contract sort of thing, and I naively signed it, and we drove home. And I remember getting into the car on Route F, which was the connector between downtown Port-au-Prince and National 1, which is, I lived right off of National 1, and I was terrified to drive. Because if you've not been in Haiti, it's organized chaos, I like to say, on the road. There are no laws. There are really no speed limits, and there are no lanes. People make a 2-lane road into a 4 or 5-lane road at a moment's notice, right?
Yes.
So, anyway, I just remember getting in the car. Nate had driven down the majority of the way back, and then I got in the car and I was scared to death, but I quickly acclimated and quickly took the road by storm.
Yeah, I can attest to that, and you were a very good driver down there.
Oh, well, thank you. You had to be very alert.
Yes.
You just never know. You never knew what was coming.
I often think Haitian, we love auto racing also. I always think a Haitian would make a great racer.
Yes. Because there's really no fear of speed.
No fear, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So we won't cover too much of that vehicle.
No, it had a lot of problems. In fact, its nickname became Machine Jab, which means like the devil car.
Always good.
The demon car.
Yeah.
So there was
Did you
that.
take any road trips in it, though? I don't remember.
Did I take any road trips in the Montero? I don't think so, because it wasn't built for the road trip life. Quickly I will share that how long into my time was it? About a year. So I think I bought the car in like June or July 2014. May 2015 was bringing it back from the mechanic who the expat had recommended to me. Teddy. How could we forget? He was fixing the oil leak. I'm driving it back home, which was probably like a 45 to an hour long car ride, depending on traffic. All of a sudden, the engine starts overheating. I mean, there's like smoke coming out from underneath the hood. which was my first experience of an engine overheating, and I was freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And long story short, it did indeed overheat, and I was without car for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get around?
Well, funny story. So in Haiti, motorcycle taxis are one of the main forms of public transportation. It's a bit more expensive than they're called camionettes, and like the Americans would call them tap-taps. They're like pickup trucks that have been transformed into public transportation vehicles. But motorcycle taxis were also a great way to get around, also a really fun way to get around. So I had befriended my current still friend, Junior. He was a motorcycle taxi driver at the top of my street, where the street corner intersected with the national road. And there were a bunch of guys at the top of the street. So Junior and I became friends, and then, 6 months later-ish, my car overheated. So he kind of introduced me to the whole crew of motorcycle guys. And so I decided then that I would get my own. I kind of wanted to join the group.
Gang?
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, that's not totally true. What happened was no one was ever really available when I needed them. It would be like people were available when I didn't need them, but then suddenly, I'm kind of in a bind and calling Junior, calling one of the other guys, and they're all off like downtown or running errands elsewhere. So I kind of got tired of waiting, and so I bought my own.
Yeah.
Which was the best experience.
And what did the moto guys think of that? Here's this young American woman on her moto.
Well, they all discouraged me from doing it. No one thought it was a good idea. But
because of the safety, or
because of the safety. I think they thought I was crazy. And because I lived in a pretty congested part of town. But soon, and it did take a moment to get used to driving, but then once I did, it was a blast. And I think it created a bond with this group unlike any I could have formed without having a motorcycle. And then, people just kind of recognize me in town as the girl on the moto. So it in many ways, I feel like it kind of bridged the gap. It made me feel, I don't know, maybe the perception was like I was really like there to be with them.
Yeah. That's interesting you say the girl on the moto. I was just thinking, that'd be a great book.
It could be. It would be.
Girl on the moto.
Girl on the moto.
So anyway, you had this moto. Any memorable trips with that? I know you used it for local getting around, but any did you take any road trips?
I did. So I took a few, but the most memorable, I had begged my friend and roommate who lived with me all throughout my time in Haiti, Jamie, to go on a road trip with me. And finally, in our last year, I think it was like the summer of 2017, I convinced her to go with me to St. Mark, which was about 50 miles north up the coast. And so we packed up one day and both had helmets. I was kind of notorious for not wearing a helmet when I drove locally.
Great to know.
But we both had helmets. I think I even wore like my leather jacket. So was really prepared. And yeah, we drove up the coast to St. Mark, which is a beach town. We had lunch up there. I remember having like a raccoon face because the dust was just like so thick on my face. And then on our way back, we stopped and jumped in the ocean, which was super fun. And yeah, it was a blast. My hands were tired by the end of the trip, but it was a really fun time, and I'm really glad that we did it. I would say another, not specifically one road trip, but January 2020, I was in Haiti for about 5 weeks, and my friend Junior took me literally everywhere. We rode the moto every single day, and calculated how many miles we did on the moto that month, but I do remember one day we did about 90 miles. He came and picked me up in the just north of Cabaret, which is again north of Port-au-Prince. We went all the way to Mirebalais, which is the Central Plateau area, and came back down to Maurepas, which is where I lived, and where I lived when I lived in Haiti, and we were exhausted, but we had a blast that month. He took me everywhere.
Wow, that's
He's
good.
He's a good friend.
And yeah, he's a great friend. He rescued me once. I left my backpack at the hotel, and Junior was quick to get it to the airport.
I do have one final story. This is really quite memorable.
Well, we got plenty of time, so. Let me ask though. When you say 50 miles in Haiti and we say 50 miles in America, not the same.
No, I would, just for context, when I would drive from where I lived to kind of deeper into the city, it was about 7 miles, and it would on average take me an hour and 15 minutes.
Yes.
Just for context. So yeah, it's like a day long event for some of these trips.
Yes.
And it's just because speed limits are slower, roads are not as well maintained, there's potholes. I remember once I with a group drove up to Cap Haitian, which is the northernmost city on the island, and it was, I wish I would have to look up how many miles it was, but it took us 8 hours to get from Maurepas up to Cap Haitian, because the second half of the trip was just, potholes the whole way. So we were probably going like 25 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Wow, this is just really,
yeah.
This is bringing back a lot of road trip memories.
So I interrupted you. You were going to share a story, and it must be a funny story.
Well, now I have a couple more.
Oh, here we go. We got stories.
There just are so many, but I don't want to bore. So, one that I do remember in particular, I was that same January 2020 when I rode everywhere with my one friend. I also was staying with my friends Jake and Molly at their house, and Jake had a motorcycle, and we were meeting Molly up in the mountains because she had been up there in her car, and Jake was taking me up on the motorcycle. And at this point in time, we were not really close friends, and which is just kind of comical to think back now. But I do remember I was spending the night up there. We all were. So I had my camera backpack on my back, and then I was also in my one arm holding all my stuff to spend the night, and then the other hand, because Jake was a fast driver, and this was like a motor, or a dirt bike, not like the typical 150, 200 cc bikes that I was used to riding. So I was holding on to the back with my other hand, and I almost fell off the moto. I was in so much pain from clenching my legs to the seat. But I wasn't close enough with Jake at that point in time that I would have asked him to stop, because people pleaser me was just I can hang on for dear life. So that was quite memorable, and thank goodness he got tired and stopped, and I told him, I literally thought I was going to fall off this bike, because we were going straight uphill. So that was what was really challenging. But I have so many moto stories. I could go on and on, but I don't want to be boring.
I've heard you talk though since you got back. I want a moto.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that. Why in the States? Because it's obviously different here, but
there is just, for me personally, there is no better way to experience the road than on the back of a moto. I just feel like you get to see and experience so much more of life. Do you agree?
I agree. I grew up riding motorcycles, so
it's just a totally different experience, and I'm not sure if I would feel the same way, for example, driving on the highway here in America. I might be terrified, but driving on the highway in Haiti was exhilarating. It was like an adrenaline rush. And so, and even, kind of weaving in and out of cars in town was fun. So I'm not sure how I would feel, but I do think it's like the best way to experience the open road.
Well, speaking of the weaving in and out, if you tried that here in the States, how drivers are, because, yeah, they're aggressive in Haiti, but they're also courteous.
They are.
In some strange way.
Yes.
Tell me a little about that. What you perceived and saw, and why you think?
Well, it kind of goes back to this idea of organized chaos, because people know they're expecting that sort of behavior on the road. Motorcycles are everywhere. I mean, people are everywhere, right? People are on foot, people are on motorcycles, people are in cars. It's so different than how it is here in America. And even, now people are texting and often distracted by their phones in the cars. It would be scary to do that same kind of weaving in and out here, because people aren't paying attention and they're just expecting it in Haiti.
Yeah. And we hear a lot about road rage here in America. Did you? I mean, I never really seen road rage. I mean, I saw people, get mad at each other, but not the way here.
No, people just don't have patience here.
Yeah.
The way that they do.
Yeah.
You're just expecting to sit in traffic, or you're expecting, traffic.
Yeah.
The blokies. And the best part about traffic in Haiti was you'd get to the source, the quote-unquote source of the traffic, and there would be nothing there. So it was just like this, again, like the congestedness on the road created so much traffic. So yeah, people weren't typically angry. Every now and then. One time I did have an experience. I was coming out of a grocery store, was getting in my car, and I do believe I had pulled out of the parking spot, and all of a sudden this person comes up to my window and is yelling at me. So I roll down the window, and they point to their car, which was next to mine in the parking lot. There was this massive scratch down the side. And they're like, "You just scratched my car." And I'm like, "No, I definitely did not. I didn't touch your car. I would have felt the car scratching your car." Like, it was kind of comical. But all that to say, he was very angry with me, and I was like, "Sorry, it wasn't my issue."
You were speaking in Creole, I assume,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Lauren's fluent in Creole.
Uh,
Well,
Yeah.
You can carry on a conversation.
I feel like it would be very optimistic of me to say totally fluent. But yeah, like, I feel like as soon as I started speaking to that person, they were like, "Oh, okay." All right. So.
Yeah, so, okay, we'll think about, we're back in the States now, and if you could take a road trip, and road trips, we should say road trips, in our definition of a road trip, it's about the journey.
Right.
It's not about the destination.
Because I've driven to a lot of places.
Yeah, you've driven to a lot of places, and we are on the road today, and we're taking a trip, but this is not technically a road trip, because this is all about us arriving in Florida at our destination.
Yes. There's not, honestly, there's not a lot to see. It's pretty.
It's pretty.
But nothing to write home about.
So, you've heard me talk about some road trips. If you could plot out a road trip here in America, and we should say road trips, in our opinion, should not be on interstates. It should be on secondary roads, back roads. So you got to set your app to say, use no highways or toll roads. So
that's a great question. I feel like I've kind of done a lot of the East Coast. I've driven a lot on this side of the country. I would love to do something out west. Definitely Pacific Highway 1 at some point in time is bucket lister. And I've really never been to the northern, what would you describe like the northern states out west?
So the Northwest?
Right.
The Northwest, yeah.
The Northwest.
Well, you're probably thinking more, you've been to Washington, of
right.
course. You're probably thinking more along
Montana.
Idaho, Montana,
Yes.
Wyoming,
Yes.
North and South Dakota.
Yes.
So, those are just northern states, really, and part of the Northwest. But, yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. So we'll have to plot out that road trip.
We sure will.
And we will do some episodes on that trip and let people know where everywhere that she goes. So anyway, we'll wrap up here. It's been a pleasure to have you and just your insight into that. You have anything you want to close with?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, I think, I've driven a lot. I've put a lot of miles on my car.
Yeah.
But no road trips in the States have really stuck out to me as being super memorable.
Well, we'll have to...
But except for, the drive from Cincinnati to Virginia I would say is probably one of my favorites, driving through West Virginia.
Yeah. Even though it's on interstate, it's very pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for being here today, for sharing. So again, this is Dan, the Road Trip Guy. You can check out all of our stories at dantheroadtripguy.com. And so until the next episode, we're out.